Nitwit. Yeah, I know I am starting with the most useless one, Sumi. Look, I wanted to get him out of the way. The Nitwit is literally about as useful as a Discord moderator living in their mother's basement. Not only does this villager not have a job, but they are literally incapable of ever getting one. They adore boring green robes, and look, I like green, but it's just not it, and have literally no badge to symbolize their lack of employment. Yeah, most players end up just, well, you know. Farmer. Ah yes, the glorious farmer, the backbone of modern society. And, well, the Minecraft Emerald Trade Hub too. Any good Minecraft player knows one of the best ways to get emeralds is to go to this guy. Want one of these guys? Just plop down a composter near an unemployed villager and boom. Now he's a certified crop-pushing, carrot-slinging capitalist. Their signature attire? That straw hat, worn by every farmer no matter which biome they're from. And what does our straw-hatted friend offer in return? A full-blown black market for your excess wheat, carrots, potatoes, you name it. He'll happily give you emeralds for stuff you were probably going to throw in lava. Not to mention, if you trade this guy to his highest level, he will likely offer you sweet, sweet golden carrots, one of the best foods in the game. Honestly, a super reliable villager. He even puts in actual work. Farmers will automatically harvest and replant crops in village farms. Like, real effort. Unheard of around here. Unlike our nitwit friend. Though, he does buy and sell beetroot. So, you know, no one's perfect. Fisherman. Yeah, and we're back to the useless side. The Fisherman. Look, I didn't make these guys, Notch did. If it were up to me, every villager would at least pretend to be helpful. If you're really dying to have one for, I don't know, roleplay purposes or something, just slap a barrel down next to an unemployed villager and congrats. You can now buy fish. More fish. And maybe, if your luck is halfway decent, an enchanted fishing rod. For all the fishing you're definitely going to do. To stand out, the fisherman villagers have a light brown fisherman's hat. That definitely doesn't look almost like every other hat you've ever seen. Yeah, this villager is a wash. Notch messed up big here. Shepherd. The good old shepherd. Now this guy actually has a decent case for your totally not inhumane village trading halls. Now, I'm not here to judge, but maybe locking them into a shoebox-sized room with no windows is a little aggressive? Who am I kidding? You're gonna do it anyway. Anyway, this guy rocks a purple robe and trades for all things wool and dye, which means super cheap early emeralds if you've got a sheep farm going. Plus, he will sell you solid color banners, which might be useful if you're really into decorating. Maybe. Honestly, the shepherd rides the line between mildly helpful and why do you exist? Fletcher. Okay, finally, this guy is actually useful. Yes, I mean it this time. Let me spell it out for you. Arrows, bows, crossbows. Yeah, this dude's your guy. Look, arrows are a pain to craft, especially those enchanted ones. You'll constantly need to constantly refill your flint supplies and burn through your chickens faster than Jack Black. Say hello to the Fletcher, a certified pro at dishing out dozens of arrows, often combined with juicy enchantments. And yes, I know you're probably going to mention Infinity. And yes, that does kind of wreck his arrow trade. But this bad boy sells those tipped arrows. So unless you want to spend hours manually crafting poison-tipped arrows in a dimly lit potion room, just give this guy a fletching table and let him do all the work for you. Cleric. All right, back-to-back good villagers. Maybe Notch was cooking with the Village and Pillage update after all. Look, this guy might not be the flashiest of villagers, but he offers some good value for some good prices. At lower levels, he will literally buy your rotten flesh, heaps of it, and for a pretty good amount of emeralds too. Though I do not want to know what he's doing with all of it. But he's not just good for emerald farming. The Cleric also sells glowstone, redstone dust, lapis lazuli, and even gold ingots. All super useful resources, especially if you're tired of digging or just lazy. Not to mention, this absolute unit sells ender pearls. Yeah, you can't go wrong with this guy. His fit check? He's got a purple hooded robe, a mysterious vibe, and a weird obsession with rotten flesh. So honestly, this guy is a W for sure. Weaponsmith. The Weaponsmith. Yeah, he just sounds cool. And, well, he is. You know, maybe I misjudged these villagers at first. Nah, I stand by what I said, especially the nitwit. Anyway, the Weaponsmith. This villager is your go-to for iron and diamond weapons, sometimes even with enchantments slapped on. Not bad, right? You'll need a grindstone workstation if you want access to one of these guys. It can be a bit of a grind to level this villager up to the point they'll sell diamond gear, but it's certainly worth it. It's practically unlimited diamond weapons, as long as you've got a good emerald supply. If you're looking for blacksmiths in your village, just look for a black apron. A solid villager, definitely trade hall approved. Armorer. The Armorer, another solid villager, though not much to be said about this one. He's basically just the slightly better brother to the Weaponsmith. The Armorer's job is simple. Sell you iron and diamond armor, sometimes with enchantments. So yeah, unlimited armor too. And I mean, with how much you unalive, you'll need all the armor you can get. Now that you're salivating to get this guy, you'll need a blast furnace workstation. You know the drill by now, place it next to an unemployed villager. And maybe, if you're lucky, you'll live a little longer with his protection. You can catch this villager in the black apron too. Like the rest of the blacksmith crew, sure, he's a bit of an emerald black hole, but he delivers. Another W villager. Toolsmith. The Toolsmith. Yeah? He's pretty much the same as the other blacksmiths. Just, instead, he provides tools. I'm sure you know the drill by now. Solid villager. Good tools. If you need him in the trading hall, place down a smithing table and let the tedious trading commence. Same black apron look. Not flashy, but good to replace your tools. Which, let's be real, is a huge pain. The trading hall approves. Librarian. The Librarian, perhaps the most quintessential villager. Any good Minecraft player should know this villager well, like a blessing and a curse. The Librarian sells enchantment books, which basically killed an entire feature of the game. Enchantment tables. Thanks, Notch. So what makes this villager so sought after? Well, everything. Mending, unbreaking, efficiency, sharpness. Yeah, if you're looking for reliable enchantments, then getting one of these guys, or let's be real, 10, is a must. But here's the catch. You're going to spend hours re-rolling trades just to get that one enchantment. Yeah, it's not fun. Especially when the dumb villager somehow escapes and runs into the only lava pit in a 1-mile radius. And no, I am definitely not talking from personal experience. Ahem. They wear white robes with a book badge and act like they're better than you, which is fair because they kind of are. Absolutely essential villager. Trading hall certified. Cartographer. The Cartographer, who requires a cartography table, is actually one of my personal favorite villagers. Sure, they are pretty much useless to anyone who doesn't want to explore the world. Yes, but come on, Minecraft's third name is Adventure. No, I didn't make that up. Yes, I absolutely did. Most of Minecraft's structures are incredibly difficult to find, and discourage players from actually trying to find them. I know, a little backwards. You can go ahead and blame Notch again. But this guy, he's the fix. The Cartographer sells explorer maps that lead directly to things like woodland mansions and ocean monuments, so you don't wander around for 2 hours just to realize you've been walking in a circle. Maybe not essential, but if you love adventure, this guy should be in your trade hall. Leatherworker. The Leatherworker. Notch really outdid himself here. Look, this villager sells leather, and that's pretty much it. Okay, yes, he does sell saddles, which I guess could have given him a pity point if this video was made a while ago. But unfortunately for our leatherworking friend here, Notch finally added the ability to craft saddles after years of waiting. So yeah, he doesn't even have that going for him. Literally a completely useless villager, and he has the audacity to need a cauldron for his workstation. Yeah, grade F villager. Butcher? The Butcher is slightly more helpful, especially in the early game. He sells, well, meat. Meat lovers will appreciate this guy. But once you have a stable supply of food, he definitely loses his luster. But for the prices they typically charge, it's not half bad. Considering the competition, having some use in the early game certainly puts him on the better half of villagers in my mind, and he's pretty easy to access, even if your village doesn't already have one. All you need to get one of these guys is a smoker, which is super easy to craft. Plus, he has a silver apron and red headband to stand out, which is pretty cool. Stonemason. The Stonemason, also known as just Mason in the Java edition of the game, easily clears for the best villager. Okay, maybe I am a little biased. His name is pretty cool. But bias aside, he does offer some pretty nice trades too. He certainly is geared more toward the builder side of the Minecraft player base, selling a lot of decorative blocks like glazed terracotta or quartz. But even for the more throw a bed on the ground and place a furnace next to it type players, he does offer some nice deals to get some emeralds too. Only asking for stone in return. Super easy emeralds. To get this guy into your trade hubs, you will need a stonecutter workstation, and he can be seen with a black apron too, along with black gloves. Wandering Villager. The Wandering Villager. Yeah? This guy marks the end of the traditional employed villagers, but he certainly doesn't end the useless streak. The Wandering Villager is a passive mob that will randomly spawn near the player, typically within a 48-block radius. Though, if there is a bell within that range, the Wandering Villager will spawn there. He also spawns with 2 leash trader llamas, who will spit at you for basically no reason. Most players just unalive them for the leashes, which are typically more useful than his trades. Yeah, this guy can trade like other villagers, but each one will have 6 random items available, which are typically generated in the dyes and buckets of fish. But he can trade less common items too, like blue ice, nautilus shells, or coral blocks, and they do not buy items, only sell them. He also doesn't care if you have the Hero of the Village effect, which normally would give you better deals. Yeah, he doesn't care. Though if you do try to unalive him, he doesn't decrease his prices either, which is odd. Just runs away and drinks invisibility potions whenever he gets hurt. He also wears the same blue robes that cover his whole body, including a hood. While he is mostly underwhelming, sometimes he can save you from needing to go out and find annoying blocks, and he is pretty life-saving in certain challenge runs, like certain super flat runs or skyblock. Unfortunately though, if you trade for one item too much, he will lock it like any other villager. But unlike any other villager, he won't ever unlock it. Plus, he will despawn unless you give him a name tag. Unemployed. The Unemployed Villager. Not much to be said here. This is just a villager before it gets a job. Place any workstation next to them, and they will take on that job. Or, if there's a workstation lying around in the wild, they'll claim that one too. Basically, they're just wandering job seekers. If you destroy their workstation, they'll go back to being unemployed. Unless you've already traded with them. In that case, they're locked in for life. Baby Villager. The Baby Villager is just, well, a baby villager. They will naturally spawn in villages if certain criteria are met. But if you're needing more villagers in a hurry, you can bribe villagers with bread or crops to make a baby, which will grow up into a certified unemployed villager, if you're lucky. There is a chance they grow up to be a nitwit. And well, you already know where that goes. Zombie Villager. The Zombie Villager is an unlucky villager who was unalived by a zombie and turned themselves. They are considered a variant of the zombie and look slightly different than the normal one, resembling the different variants of villagers. These guys have a chance at spawning out in the wild, randomly, in the place of villagers. But they have other ways to appear too. First, they have a chance to spawn when a zombie unalives a villager. 0% on easy mode, 50% on normal, and 100% on hard mode. They also appear in zombie villages, alongside the normal zombies roaming around. And lastly, a bit more rare, but if you stumble upon an igloo with a cleric villager, a zombie villager will appear alongside them. Weird. Cured Zombie Villager. The Cured Zombie Villager is actually slightly different from a normal villager. They will keep the same job they had when they were turned, but all of their prices will be reduced. A little nod of gratitude for you saving them, though some players turn them on purpose just to cure them, to get those better deals. Yeah, pretty twisted, but I'm sure you were thinking about it too. Witch. The Witch is a hostile mob that uses potions to fight, both offensively, like potions of poison, and drinkable potions like healing for defense, making them a pretty strong monster that spawns in the overworld, in all biomes except the mushroom fields. Now, I get that some of you might consider the Witch a bit of a stretch, but it's pretty clear that the Witch is a villager variant. The Witch looks very similar to the other villagers, only with purple robes and eyes, along with a stylish witch hat. While they can spawn anywhere, witches always spawn in witch huts, and often join up with the Pillagers during raids. Also, in the Java edition of Minecraft, if a villager is struck by lightning, they will actually turn into a witch. When a player unlives a witch, they drop 5 experience orbs and have the largest loot table of any mob. This includes glass bottles, glowstone dust, redstone dust, spider eyes, gunpowder, and sugar. They also have a chance of dropping a potion, if they are drinking it when they mysteriously pass. Because of those drops, witch huts are often turned into witch farms, super efficient, totally humane, and not at all morally questionable. Pillager. The Pillager is the backbone of the Illagers, and a hostile mob to not only the player, but also passive villagers, wandering traders, and iron golems. Yeah, these guys have a bone to pick with everybody. Pillagers will even team up to aid other pillagers when attacking. These guys attack using arrows they fire out of their deadly crossbows. A common way to find pillagers is in their outposts, tall wooden towers found in plains, deserts, and taiga biomes, serving as the home base for pillagers, protecting the loot chest at the top of their tower. Pillagers can also spawn in what's called patrols, a group of pillagers that will roam around. The amount varies from 1 to 5 on Java, but the patrol will always include a patrol captain. This pillager will carry an ominous banner, and if unalived, will grant the player the Bad Omen status effect. This effect carries some nasty consequences, as if you still have it the next time you enter a village, you'll be hit with a raid. Waves of illagers, pillagers, ravagers, and whatever else Notch thought would be funny at your expense start pouring in. They will go after everything in the village, the villagers, the iron golems, and, well, you. Raids come in waves, each one ramping up in difficulty. The later waves even throw in evokers and ravagers, which is, let's just say, not beginner-friendly. However, if you manage to survive the whole thing, you'll be racking in the rewards. Dozens of emeralds, totems of undying, and the hero of the village status, which gives you discounts on trades and makes you a big deal in the village, for about 5 minutes. Vindicator. Vindicators are basically the melee version of pillagers, also part of the Pillager family. But instead of ranged attacks, they sprint at you swinging an iron axe that does way too much damage for something that requires no aim. Vindicators are often found in woodland mansions. If you are ever lucky enough to find one, they also spawn during raids, and if they're nearby when a pillager patrol forms, they might tag along for the chaos. When unalived, they can drop their iron axe along with emeralds. Also, if you use a name tag to name a Vindicator Johnny, he suddenly becomes hostile to literally everybody except evokers, pillagers, and other vindicators. Dude will literally try to go head-to-head with the Ender Dragon if given the chance. Plus, if they're a raid captain, they can even instruct nearby pillagers to attack targets that aren't villagers. Crazy Easter egg from Notch. Bravo. Evoker. The Evoker, the last of the Pillager family, is a spellcaster found in woodland mansions and raids, and is the only source of the Totem of Undying. Already, that makes him a high-value target. He uses 2 main spells to attack, one that summons armor-piercing fangs from the ground, and another that summons vexes. Those annoying little flying mobs that deal solid damage and are a nightmare to hit. Evokers spawn naturally in certain woodland mansion rooms, and don't respawn once defeated. In raids, they begin appearing around Wave 5 and beyond, and on harder difficulties they can even show up riding Ravagers. If they spawn as raid captains, they'll also carry a banner. When defeated, the Evoker drops 1 Totem of Undying, 0 to 1 emeralds, increased with looting, and 10 XP. If they were a raid captain, they'll also drop a banner. Behavior-wise, they keep their distance, casting spells and running from the player when approached. Their fang attack deals decent damage, and isn't blocked by armor. If you're too close, they'll summon them in circles around themselves. If too many Vexes are alive nearby, the Evoker won't summon more until the count drops below 8. There's also a weird non-combat spell they cast where they turn nearby blue sheep into red sheep. No real gameplay reason, just chaos. And yes, they make a wololo sound when they do it. Despite being one of the more dangerous Pillagers, they're also one of the most rewarding, thanks to the guaranteed totem drop. You'll want to take them out quickly during raids before you're surrounded by fangs and tiny flying sword gremlins.